Hey guys, welcome to I guess video 2 of the parent emails and the online parenting class. I hope that you're doing well. We've been talking a lot about the difference between reacting and responding, and I thought that'd be a good idea to let you know just about um, the changes that your child is going through, especially the physical changes in teenagers. And a lot of the reasons why we get offended by teenagers, it's because of biological and physiological reasons. Okay, a lot of reasons why our heart relationship is fractured and why that connection is really broken, especially during adolescence. It's because we don't understand the context of everything that's going on in the lives of our teenager, and we really begin to lose empathy for where they're at in their lives. So I'm going to try to recreate a little bit of that with you. So let's talk a little bit about what's going on in the lives of your teenagers. Okay, between the ages of 0 to 2, there's a lot of physical and mental changes. Think about the difference between a 0-year-old and a 2-year-old. The ages between 11 and 13 are the second fastest stage of development for an adolescent, for a human being. Think about the changes between a 0-year-old and a 2-year-old, okay? And the 11-year-old to 13-year-old is going through the second fastest change. So their body's going through all sorts of stuff. And you think about a 0 to 2-year-old, they're in the process of testing and exploring, and that's exactly what's going on with a teenager that's between the age of 11 to 13 typically. I mean, it might go all the way up to 15 in some cases. And so it's the same behaviors, but it's just a different stage of life. So it's really the same. It's very similar. And don't tell a teenager that I said that. Some bearded guy just said that I was acting like a 2-year-old. Don't do that, please. That you might think that they're clumsy. Well, it's because they're clumsy for a reason. And it's because their bones are growing faster than their muscles, and they're relearning a lot of different physical activities. Okay, so they look awkward, right? But you know what? They feel even more awkward, right? So we understand that girls grow faster than guys. It's kind of fun to go into a seventh grade class and see like the Amazon women. You got these 5.5 foot tall girls and these 5 foot tall guys, and they're just looking around like you know and you look at seventh grade gym class, and it's not good, for a young man, to see himself, and he's comparing himself, oh man, I'm not like these other guys. I'm not that developed. And he sees all these girls that are turning into young women, and he still kind of has the body of a boy. And it's kind of this really awkward transition. You know what I'm saying? And it really makes things no fun. But we do know what's happening. And it's kind of this gigantic hormone cocktail. You know what I'm saying? And the body, it starts with the brain, and the brain initiates this flow of hormones to regulate the growth. And there's a lot of things that are happening in that process, and I'll spare you all of those biological parts. But remember, I'm not a scientist. Okay, I'm not a doctor, but I'll tell you this: these hormones are creating new grooves in their brain to help them think a little differently. Okay, they're going from knowing about concrete things to really start to question abstract things, right? And so the brain is actually totally reforming. Their organs are getting bigger, and I want you to think about your teenager as kind of being under construction, right? And so the hormone cocktail. It's completely changing their body, their mind. Okay, the way that they think, the way that they believe, who they are physically, right? And it's not a perfect or even pretty process, right? And so this gland, sometimes this gland, it'll squirt out way too many hormones, and then this other gland won't squirt out enough hormones, and it's a nasty process. And that's why sometimes you get these crazy, intense, emotional beings, right? And then 5 minutes later, it's fine. So how did that happen? There's a physiological reason for that, and sometimes they're going to be up in your face, they're going to be yelling, there's going to be screaming, and you as a parent are going to be offended by that. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tough, and I'm by no means excusing them from yelling at you, okay? And neither should you, okay? You should not tolerate that kind of behavior. But my big anthem, okay, for parents is to have consistent consequences, okay, with as little emotion as possible, okay. When we talk about, we don't want to have punitive punishment, right? We want to have godly punishment. We need to be consistent. We need to lay down those boundaries for our students. They're crazy emotional. And if you return emotion with emotion, then all that you're going to do is you're going to create World War III, right? And nobody's happy in the house. So one of your skills, all right, for us as parents is that we receive emotion and then we go and get that emotion out in a healthy way, right? So we go to work, or we punch a tree outside, or whatever it is that you need to do, right? Beat the mess out of a pillow or something. I don't know. But when they bring it to you, you take it to another place. Don't take it back to them, okay? Don't take it back to them. Because if you do that, you're going to disconnect the heart. Does that make sense? Like their prefrontal cortex, right? That's the part of the brain that's processing everything, right? It handles things like planning and reasoning and anticipating consequences, right? This is beginning to develop connections, but it's not yet connecting, okay? And it won't connect fully until sometime in their early 20s. Sorry if that's bad news for you, but this explains, those, stupid parties, okay? And here's the thing, legitimately, they haven't yet figured out how to process potential consequences, okay? They haven't figured that out yet. So let's recognize that, okay? When we ask, what were you thinking? How could you do that? Why weren't you thinking about the consequences for your action? I wish that I would have been able to say, I'm sorry, Mom. My prefrontal cortex isn't quite yet developed enough, right? Obviously we can't, we don't want students saying that and giving you all these physiological reasons for being dumb. You as a parent, I'm just trying to help you understand where they're coming from and what they're thinking, right? One of the greatest gifts that you can give your kid, okay, is to constantly communicate to them that they're normal, okay? They're normal. What they're going through is normal. I had a student the other day that was texting me and saying, I just feel like I'm just going through the motions and I just feel alone. And I had another student telling me that, they just felt like nobody could relate to them. And meanwhile, I'm going, I know how you feel. I know exactly how you feel. I think everyone has gone through what you're going through. We've all just kind of gone through the motions and we've all just gotten tired of it. And so it's important for you to communicate to them, I know exactly what you're going through. Because in this stage, when they walk into a room, how do awkward students feel? They feel like all eyes are on them, right? That everybody's watching them, everybody's looking at them. They saw them trip on the carpet, they saw them do those things. Do you remember when you were 13? All right, and you had a big old pimple right here, and you walk into the room and you feel like everyone's just looking at you like, right? You remember that? Nobody obviously really notices that you have a pimple. Okay, no one really notices that. And this expanded sense of self is something to consider when we're trying to figure out why they're acting so crazy, right? So if you have someone understanding with that with your teenager, okay, I think that you'll find that you'll be a little bit more patient.